Welcome to Parenting Vanessa Clone's podcast. All right, just a little bit about me. I'm a family interventionist. I have started the school, a nonprofit that is a K through 8, which specializes in social emotional learning, which is KFS school, along with the 3R method that works on self-regulation and body awareness, along with the social emotional learning that builds on the relationships of the child and whoever they're working with, parent or teacher. And I just have a lot to offer when it comes to interventions with kids of all ages. And it's really important for me that people have more tools in the toolkit when it comes to parenting. Welcome to Parenting with Vanessa Clone. Today we have a friend of mine named Matt, who is in the Bay Area, actually, and he has his PhD in education and a huge background and is called many different names. So he's going to start on explaining that to me, please.
Why do you hear people call me so many names? So yes, Matt, so please feel free to call me Matt. But people will reference me again in the publishing world as Matthew C. Andrews. So when we do research or curriculum, that's the name I go by. Sure. And then Dean, because I'm one of these outside the box school administrators. You wear a similar hat. So
right.
How do you end up around children? How do you end up in these positions? So they call me the Dean of the Wild West.
The Dean of the Wild West.
Because what happens is I try to get students into college or wherever, or work. And wherever they be, we're here in Las Vegas, but if it's Los Angeles or San Francisco, oftentimes the local college is the lowest cost, most effective option.
Okay.
So especially, why am I called all these names? Well, because I can travel all over, and often I have a student enrolled at a college. Why? Because when they were 17 in our program, they wanted to take calculus or Spanish. We got them enrolled in the lowest cost program.
Right.
And now they stick around. So we help them through college as well.
So you have these kids in school.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the schools that you are running.
Yep.
Okay,
so Solo Quest School.
Okay.
For the most part, high school is when you need an accreditation or something that's University of California approved.
Okay.
So A through G are the requirements in California. Mm-hmm. So for the most part, when you're meeting a U.S. history requirement or English or math, those are special classes. 9th grade, we think of it, or 10th grade. Before that, for the most part, elementary school, they don't necessarily need it to be approved or aligned with college preparation. We have students that are younger, just like you do, but they don't necessarily need to show that the math they're doing is college prep.
Right.
Does that help?
But we are part of it. We are getting an accreditation because that's important to me.
Yes.
So I want to make sure, especially with my kids, that they understand that they are doing work because we are in a small school. And I sometimes feel like, well, this isn't like a school because we're so small. They don't have, the activities that other schools have and the extracurricular because we are so small. So that accreditation is important.
Absolutely. So that's why when you see, we have Solo Quest School and Learning Centers.
Okay.
So what can happen is we partner with lots of elementary schools that want a student in advanced math, for instance. So if they are in 3rd or 4th or 5th grade, the elementary or primary school might have a license or a credential or accreditation. We have the class for the credit for the college prep. So that 4th or 5th or 6th grader enrolls in Solo Quest. At that time, we often call it a learning center at the elementary school.
So it's more individualized.
It's almost all individualized.
Okay, I missed that.
Yes. Well, what will happen is almost always it's individualized.
Okay.
So, we might have a math teacher on an elementary campus for 3 hours a day. What they're doing is they might see 6 students because for a half hour,
right,
one-on-one they work. And they are earning, for the most part, if they're in our school in that case, they're earning credit.
And it's to get into college.
To go into college. We have the opposite as well. We have 11th or 12th graders, or even maybe a 19 or 20-year-old who's been struggling. So maybe it's a 19 or 20-year-old who had health issues and they may have missed a year or two or maybe only partial credit. Right. So we adapt, and we might have the other end where 19 or 20-year-old still wants that high school diploma. We're making sure that they get the classes they need.
So the next question is, what kind of students are coming to you? So you said people that have maybe missed a couple years for being sick. Anybody else?
Yeah, we have the whole spectrum of anyone is welcome. Here's how it's a fit. If you think of the traditional school, a high school in San Francisco has 2,000 students, 400, 500 in a, 9th grade class. California and a lot of places, New Orleans or Wisconsin, there's a lot of school of choice. So we know there's charter schools and private schools and international. We call these schools all different names, and it's really confusing if you're outside the state of California.
Right.
But we partner with these kinds of schools, and in terms of diverse students, for the most part, if the kid is happy sitting in ninth grade English, and then the bell rings, and they're happy sitting in
history. And then keep going for the next thing, and they can handle the transitions, and there's no stress, and they're able to keep up, which is very hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like me.
Go figure. Yes. So yes. And here's what happens. Oftentimes people don't call you or me unless there's a problem.
And it's already very late in the game.
So we do help anybody. Again, we love to help the fourth grader who wants to kind of get on track, but it's often a 10th or 11th grader who is now 2 years behind in math.
And then when you travel, so are you visiting students that were prior students and helping them in college, or how does this work with, are parents paying you? Like how, I got a lot of questions.
No, please do and ask, because what happens is I've spent so much time outside the box of education that these are new schools to me, relatively, within 5 years. The schools have been around for 25 or more years. But 2019 and before, for the most part, there was a location in Napa Valley or Sonoma or Marin or San Francisco. And you might have 50 to 100 students that come to that center or, location. Well, we all closed down for a little while. And what happened during that time, now it's online. We pride ourselves. We have mentors beyond teachers. So we have people that, like, if you want to be an equestrian or a surfer or even a business entrepreneur, we work with coaches or a specialist who spends most of their time doing that. So if you're showing horses, weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're trailing a horse to Kentucky or Alabama or Oklahoma. You're showing those horses at an Olympic caliber level. But throughout the week, and you're spending, when they're thinking, those girls are thinking of their horse trainer as their
mentor.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What we do is we make sure that she can still do Spanish every day. So for 30 minutes every day, she can go from the horse stable, log in for her Spanish, her math. The last part in there, every student in our program is in some sort of project. So solo quest, individual, or independent study. And this independent study's been around a long time. But we have a project. So anybody in the school has some sort of project. In this case, these girls want a gold and, equestrian. Our secondary project or counseling or advising is to try to get them more support. The mentor becomes that horse trainer. Also vet tech. We try to get her exposed to people who might have skills in veterinary tech or some sort of career. So part of the confusion why I get called so many names, I am the administrator director. But when we start a student, let's say a 14 or 15-year-old comes in, oftentimes the problem, you'll see a lot of parallels with what we do. The problem that people talk about is math, or they might say cognitive, whatever it be.
Math is difficult for me. I'm sorry.
And there's no problem with it. It's just kind of missing the root or the core of the problem.
Right.
Look,
there's something else going on.
We can't sit still, or we're hungry, or whatever. All this, we do, larger assessments so we understand. And in those cases, we help students. So oftentimes the project for our students, because they're coming with their parent, is they want to succeed in school. Our push there is to move them far beyond. Right. What happens is you might do that for a year. I'm not saying, oh, no, you don't need to take algebra and geometry with 25 other students. Just, there's no reason. For some people, it's fine.
It's hard to focus.
Absolutely.
And kids get distracted, and then they're looking at something else, and then if their anxiety goes up because they can't figure out the problem, and then they think everyone's looking at you, right? Everyone's like having this whole thing going on. Then internal dialogue. Then they shut down, and then that's like me just running out of the classroom. It took me 5 years to get out of junior college because I couldn't get algebra. I'm going to be honest with you.
Keep going. Yeah,
I kept going. And then they gave me, took me another math test, right, to take for a placement. And when I got it, and this was after like a year and a half of doing algebra and failing, they put me in the lowest, like you're just balancing a checkbook.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then I had to start again from that level and then slowly going up. And the only reason why I passed it is because my last math teacher that I was able to do did multiple choice.
Okay.
And I was able to figure out from the answers on which way it would be, because I can't just look at a problem and figure it out that way. I had to do it a different way, because and I still can't do anything. If it's like X equals Y, did blah, 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 and I'm all, that's what it sounds like, blah, 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 blah. Or the plane is going one direction. How much gas?
Yes.
That gives me anxiety still.
Yes. And think about how we meet so many different teachers who sometimes and often they don't mean to say, they're not saying this my way or the highway.
Right.
But they often are saying everybody needs to, no. No.
This is the standard thing. I need to make sure you pass up. It makes the good on me. So we need to figure this out. And it's hard.
Yes. And there's a lot of flexibility and adaptability, accessibility. I mean,
when you're one-to-one.
Right. There is. And when you get outside of that traditional track or box of the school, it's efficient. Horace Mann is kind of credited with starting a lot of public schools in the U.S. And then Carnegie, so philanthropist and donor, again, did all sorts of things, but he donated a lot to behavior sciences and education. They call it the Carnegie unit. So the way when you say algebra, what that means is, oh yeah, I guess we have had this around for more than 50, 100 years now. It's the American style of education, right? You expect to take a semester of algebra. There's going to be so many units, so many hours. It's standardized. It's okay. But as we know, look, if you're 19 and like, there's multiple ways to learn this, but let's look at really when I say project or goal, well, what's your goal in this class? And when we say assessments and these things, if it's all one-on-one, it's all designed for that one. So a lot of things that we do for a factory model of education don't make sense.
No, nothing about it makes sense to me. That's why I started KFS.
Well, and that's what, so now we get students outside that box, and now
it makes sense for us.
But we have more of an obligation to, I guess, apply when they say research-based methods or practice at work.
That's why the accreditation is a big deal for me, because I want to make sure when someone looks at my school and they're like, well, they're doing things differently, we're really are hitting the academics, we are looking at the standards, we are looking at that. We also have someone watching what we're doing too, and making sure that they are going to be able to go to the next level.
Now we're sponsored from KFS School.
One more time.
Now we're sponsored from KFS School.
KFS School is a nonprofit located in San Francisco that has a strong emphasis on individualized social, emotional learning curriculum that was created by Vanessa and has been adopted by countless schools across the Bay Area and more. With an emphasis on small classroom settings, one-on-one attention, and a warm and welcoming environment, KFS encourages your child's ability to make choices, problem solve, master skills, and develop their relationships further. Find out more at kfsschool.org today. That's kfsschool.org.
So this is my other hat. I do a lot of accreditation with WASC, and my specialty is assessments. So right, and part of the benefit is once you get in alternative schools, wow, there's a lot of different ways to
do
learn.
things.
And somebody in a traditional comprehensive high school, they're asking questions that don't make any sense to the teachers in schools like ours. Like, well, why don't you have 25 students like all showing up on the bell? Well, you don't have to do that. Like,
Yeah,
they just
no.
get stuck. And then it's, well, my school has a bell, 2 bells, and then everybody's here for 45 minutes, and everybody looks at the board that way.
Yeah, see, what we do is how we structure the day is that we'll have a math class that starts at 9 o'clock, right? So when math goes for we'll have the time, but when they're done with their math, they can go do something else. They're not waiting for everyone to be finished. It's not like they're sitting there doing something. They can leave the room, they could do what they need to do. And then as the last child is there, that's the one that's gonna need the help. So they're going to get more one-on-one attention, where the other kids are doing really well at math, and it's all individualized too, because I have a kindergarten that can do second grade math.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these brains, I'm like, what? They're smarter than me. So when you have that piece and the stress level and not all these transitions that are like, you have to go from the one thing to the next, and like the kid is already thinking about what's going on next versus like, I'm just going to do what I have to do. Then I can go to the next thing. At 10 o'clock, we're going to have snack, and then 10:15 is language. As long as we get the big chunks out of the morning.
Yep.
It works. But again, it's not like there's a bell. They can take breaks. There's not like, okay, you're going to sit in your chair for 40 minutes until the next person comes in. No, it's like you can go do something else and then come back, and you have that time. And that's what you need. That's what the kids need. It's just less pressure. And they're older kids. I'm like, okay, here's our assignments that we need to get done for the day. I don't care if you do science first, history. I don't care. Just we need to work on it. And what is your schedule? And so empowering them to do that. And then also when they need and get stuck, they have that individual time with the teacher.
Absolutely. And let's talk to parents for a second who are making this choice. Because think about, with any children of any age, or when we think about teaching math, or whatever we say, second grade. How do we do it? I'm not saying this is the worst way to do it. Probably is the best way. It just doesn't work for everybody. So if we look at this, we group people by age.
In my school, it's not that way.
Me neither. So what ends up happening, like, it makes sense. If you live in a neighborhood in San Francisco, it's easiest to put all the 5-year-olds in one class. It would be nice if they were on a bus, and we do feed them for we
right.
do have it makes sense. But when we're talking about parents especially, here's what we get confused. Parents need to thank all of their teachers in schools way more, because it provides childcare and so much more beyond just math.
Right.
Now, the fact, how do we get 100 5-year-olds all in one building in 4 class? It's a fine system. We realize it's not going to work for everybody. So parents oftentimes misunderstand. So that's a fine school. Your neighborhood school is often a good option. There's a few kids that don't fit. And what happens is, once they start to realize you can design your own school, it opens up the world. So for parents who don't care about the child care, design your own school. Once they start thinking this way, no matter what the ability of their child is, they don't need to be in their house in San Francisco. They can be on a sailboat. They can be in Paris. They can be in Hong Kong.
Right. They can travel.
And they can be doing whatever they can be doing, learning however they're learning.
Right.
But that's a very different, and same when you're dealing with school. Once you take them out of, okay, this child needs to daycare from this time to this time. We're going to get them a good meal at lunch or a snack. The schools actually do that well. But we deal with a lot of special people who are, again, when we say every 8-year-old now is going to go into English and then math. Of course they have a different ability. It's so different when you start thinking about individualized attention.
Well, the other thing is, too, when I find that a lot of times by the times the parents are coming to me, or the families are, their biggest goal is like, I just want my kid happy. The stress level of trying to like fit into this box and to fit into what everybody else is doing is like, it just becomes, their self-esteem drops. You start to see them like hating themselves. I have no friends. The negative self-talk increases. It becomes like they just want their kid happy again. And there's a point where they're like, I don't care about academics. Like, I know my kid, like most of my kids are in the 90th percentile. When you test them, they're brilliant minds. But the social emotional, right? So there's a little bit lower, and they have a hard time connecting, and they have a hard time sustaining that friendship because maybe the social skills are a little bit, they're not seeing the situation for what it is, or they're not sure how to handle the situation that's coming up socially. So it's very difficult. So by the time the parents are there, they've already gone through, multiple professionals, and they're just at a point of like, I just want my kid happy now. Like, I don't care. And whatever that's going to look like, and the individualized learning. And the other thing is, when you talk about mixed age group, I believe in mixed age groups for education. The older kids can help the younger kids can look up to the older kids. I mean, it helps on all levels. And since we're such a small school, we are such a tight community, and that everyone like protects everybody. And I remember my oldest one didn't want to read, but I'm like, I really need help I'm doing a little social skills group, and can you help with the social skills book and read to them? And that's what got him reading again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's like, I could do this. And then the little one's like, oh, but can I read this book to you? And then how do we and doing the games and playing games together, and how the older one can be a little bit of a teacher and a mentor, where they start to feel good about themselves, that they're providing back into the community.
Yes.
And the little one's like, and the other thing is, some of the little ones are like, I don't follow rules. And so I'm like, you got to control your body when they're yelling at you that you cheated when you did not cheat because they lost, right? Like, one time we were in the car, we got, I took everyone to the Fairmont for Christmas to see the Christmas tree.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The oldest one and the little one were in the back. I don't know what I was thinking, but the little one just thought it was funny to start poking at my bigger one, the oldest child. And he's a little he has a temper. And I just looked at this kid, I'm like, please just hold it together. And then this little one's looking at me like, oh, Vanessa's in the front. Like, she can't do anything.
He knows.
He knows.
Test your boundaries.
And then he's like trying to take the seatbelt off and just really start going at this kid. And I'm like, oh my God, we have 7 minutes of this. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm like, please, please, please. And we get out, he's like, you should be so proud of me that I controlled my body. Can you believe what he did? I controlled my body. And I go, but exactly. I mean, he wouldn't have had that opportunity without having that mixed age group.
You're so right. And we don't think about all of a sudden when we're putting every 5-year-old for 12 years of their life with same age peers, how much they start missing. How important it becomes for a 5-year-old to be around an 8-year-old, or an 8-year-old around a 12. Now, my younger son, he has a potty mouth. Other parents say, of course, he has 3 older brothers. And again, his brothers are wonderful. But just imagine being around, you've got people 10 years older than you, and they pick up everything.
No, they do. And when it comes like language, I always say, here, if you want to go use that word, here's a cup, and I call it like a potty cup or whatever, like a cuss cup. And I go, here you go. You could say it over and over again. I don't really care. And then again, I'm not giving it attention. I'm not going to do it. I'm like, here, you can go cuss in the bathroom. That's fine too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you no, because obviously you want that reaction. So I'm like, if you really need to see it, you can go to the bathroom. No, I don't really want to go to the bathroom and say it. It's okay. Or I tell my kids at school, I'm like, if you want it, we have younger kids, right? So the older ones, I'm like, if you want to cuss, just let me know. We're going outside. We're not having it in the school.
Yeah, yes.
Like, I'm very clear on that. But I'm okay if you want to. Like, we'll just go on a walk. Well, that's not fun. When you give permission, it changes it, right? It changes the power. Like, I'm going to get this.
This is what so often parents, or you hear this criticism of, there's too much freedom. So the liberal arts and liberal arts colleges mean the skills necessary to be a free citizen. Mm-hmm. This goes all the way down to elementary school when we talk about play environments or just classroom dynamics. This is what we're talking about.
Right.
Like you said, if they finish their assignment or whatever, they have some choice in terms of choosing what they do, and now they have 15 minutes on their own. What are they going to do with that? It seems discipline. I mean, part of it is teaching that self-discipline that's so important. And again, we can't expect every 5-year-old or every 8-year-old to pick up the skill on the same day.
No, it does take time. But the repetition and everything else is what is best on that, and the consistency piece. So when you're consistent and you're following it and it's the same thing every time. And then also, some kids with executive functioning have a time of like, well, what do I do in that spare time? Then next thing you know, it's like, we have to give choices too. So you can either do this or this, but then once they are, used to it and they know what they want to do, they know their classroom, they know where everything's at, they can go and get something. As long as they're not starting fights, we're good.
So for our Solo Quest programs, for the most, we help a lot of students on the spectrum, neurodiverse.
Okay.
Now we pair them with an expert, and part of what we do, because we're an outside the box school, the psychiatrist or the group, anybody can also come, the coach or the trainer can join in the planning for this student.
And so how many teachers do you have?
Well, when we say teacher, what do we mean by teacher or mentor or coach or whatever? So we actually have access and train over 50 teachers. All of them are part-time. Oftentimes they're teaching somewhere else. But if you're logging in for Hebrew or French or Spanish, Mandarin, that teacher probably lives in another country. They're a native speaker.
Okay.
You're logging in for a half-hour day. It's the best teacher in the world. They're just one-on-one. You're speaking Now, we have math and English teachers very similar, but oftentimes with math, maybe that student is scheduling 2 or 3 days a week to meet with their geometry teacher at the same time. So we do have some full-time people.
So how could people find you?
Soloquest.com. Schedule a meeting. We are busy. We are open enrollment. So what happens is, like I said, most people call us when they have a problem. parents or educators who are ahead of the game absolutely call and set up a school. If they want to offer Hebrew or Mandarin next year, we're working with that school or that organization right now. Oftentimes, and again, when I say open enrollment, they can call us whenever.
I have the same policy, so I get it. I mean, if it's not working out in April, it's not working out in April. It's not like I'm going to sit there and say, no, you have to come in August. We're just going to make you wait. No, it's open. It's always that way for me too.
So that's it. It's a nice way. So we just have this open door. Schedule a meeting with us. We'll answer your question. I mean, sure, we are a school for independent study and international, so we have all these languages, adaptive. But for the most part, call us because it's an individual design program.
I love it. We're on the same wavelength. So glad we met at this conference.
It's wonderful to serve similar students. And this has been a great conference, too.
Yeah, and Education 2.0 for sure in Vegas. Thank you again for being here, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks a lot, Vanessa.
Thank you for listening to Parent Vanessa Kalam. Parenting with Vanessa Kalam.
And if you have any questions about your child or want to hear other tips, please go to Vanessa's website, vanessacalone.com at VANESSAKAHLON.com or email colonefamilyservices@gmail.com.